I sat on the wooden bench as the evening sun set behind the buildings across from me. On this walkway where my bench sat, there was nobody, just fields of grass and a line of trees spaced out beside the stone path. I sit without headphones and listen to the evening. It is almost soundless, except for the once-in-a-while bird sound or swaying of tree leaves. I see him approach the bench as the sun rays are almost gone from behind the building across the field of grass. He wears tennis shoes and jeans and a blue hoodie. His hair isn't combed down as is mine, and he carries a goofy grin. He is welcoming conversation with me before it has even began. I reflect on my look and think it may be unwelcoming. My eyes are focused and narrowed as I see him approach. I switch to a warm, slight smile. I stay seated. He sits down to my left, a younger version of myself. This is me, about halfway through high school. We say the usual introduction when one meets himself. How are you? This is weird. You're looking handsome. Within the conversation, I see how he takes me in, how his inner thoughts must be wondering what things have changed, even the slightest, small things. How my hair is now longer but trimmed, how I'm more reserved, at times more quiet. I reflect on myself in this moment too, and I take in my younger self. He is already me, already living in my mind. We share the same past, or at least I share his. He doesn't share all of mine, not yet. He asks me how college has been, what I'm doing, who I know, what I've done. I answer, it's all right. There's been good and bad times, of course, sort of what one would expect. It isn't how it's depicted in the movies, I say to him. I don't party every Friday, and I don't necessarily have a big group of friends that I meet up with every night. I say to him, I don't want to tell him too much. I don't want to hurt him or scare him or make him sad, so I say, it can be more lonely than one expects, but I think that's a good thing. When I was you, I thought I had learned a lot. Of course, you're smart and you know you have a lot to learn still. I believe I've had a lot of time to reflect in these past couple years. I've made friendships and relationships, and some have broken off. And in all of these things, I've learned more about myself. Every moment of silence, when I accept it as silence and take it in, without distracting myself or coping in some way, every moment of silence has built me, in some way. He, or I, looks at me and listens, and looks down at his feet, and back up at me. What did you decide to study? I sort of laugh to myself. I am so undecided in a lot of things, when I was him and even now. I remember how he is uncertain about where his future lies, which I have now accomplished. I too am uncertain now. I study English and math, I say to him. We still write. We still love to write. How did you decide on that? Math, that's unexpected. It's true, it is unexpected. I was never too good at it, and at times very vocal of my disdain for the subject. I don't know. I sort of didn't have a lot of faith in myself and tried my hand at a class, and I liked it. It made me feel more confident in myself. Remember how much we loved puzzles? Nana says we could do some of them behind our back. I think I found a field where I can solve puzzles and feel good about myself. For a while, I turned my back on more creative aspects, thinking they didn't matter. In the end, though, I knew those were an integral part of me, so I returned to writing and taking English classes. He says to me. He is tall and skinny, sort of like I am now, but not as filled out. He has a lot of acne on his face, but he smiles through that. I remember the lack of confidence that gave me when I was his age. How's school? How's home? How's everything? I ask him. Of course, I know, but I want him to be able to voice these things. It's good. It's chill, he says. I'm with my dad, right now. It's been raining lately, which we love, or you still love that, right? I nod. Well, of course not. It's fun to sit in class with wet jeans. Are you sneaking out a lot? I ask him. I remember the marks under my window from my dirty shoes, scraping the paint as I climb back in after adventures with my friends or just myself. I remember the long main road that went by our house, the house with Dad, shining with its red and green lights from intersections that shone bright and spread throughout the street. How after it rained, those lights reflected in the puddles. How I would sneak out and listen to music or goof off with 2 to 3 friends I had in that year. He nods and smiles. I think he's starting to realize that everything he knows, I do as well, and that he doesn't need to voice it exactly. It's like he has seen the cogs working in my mind, remembering and rejoicing in our shared memories. His eyes change to curiosity, wonder, some sadness. Do you have a girlfriend? I give a small smile, a little sad. No, but I did. There's been a couple people that I've gotten close to who have been really great since I was you. Did something happen recently? Who was she? I stare down now at my own feet. A little something had happened recently. Not as big and official as relationships I've had before. If someone had looked in from the outside, they would have thought it was just a friendship, and perhaps it was. A talking stage, some may call it. I can't spoil that for you. You'll come to know it soon enough. He was silent, but I could tell he understood. There's so many things I want to ask you. I know. To be honest, some of those questions I may not have an answer for. Perhaps 50-year-old us is waiting on the bench across town. Maybe no such bench exists. Right now, I'm not so different from you. I have a lot of questions that I wish I could answer to. I put my hand on his shoulder. I know his exterior is joyful, and we can be joyful with each other, but on the inside he has doubts and fears and is lonely. I know it could have been last night where he played Mac Miller's Circles or Brockhampton's Saturation and just stared at the ceiling after walking through the night alone, just listening. It's going to be okay. Sometimes it won't be, but there's going to be a lot of good times. And I realized then that I was sort of talking to myself and voicing my own fears for my future. Don't be afraid to put yourself in the world, to put forward your creation, your ability and wants and yearnings, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to pretend that I'm an old wise man, though. I'm just 21. He smiled to himself. I think I have to go now, he said to me. He looked like he needed to cry, but I know that he cannot. Perhaps he can more than me, for in the present moment I do not have that ability, though I wish for it. For a second I wish he could create a branch reality when he leaves this bench, one where he does not become me, becomes a sort of me who is better, who is less reserved, less self-conscious, less afraid, less in his head. I shouldn't think that, though. This kid is going to grow to be someone special. He is special. I'll see you later, I say to him. He walks back down the path in the direction he came from. Now it is dark, and as he walks by the trees, he grows smaller and smaller, and seems to fade from the night. I'm back alone on this stretch of path, myself being the bench's only inhabitant. I wish I gave myself some better advice, but as I reflect, I understand that I cannot change the path that he is on. He must make the same decisions and mistakes that I have so I can be here now. However much I love or dislike things that have happened, they have happened nonetheless, and have caused me to be sitting where I am now, enjoying the cool night. The lights on the path have been lit for a while now, and I stand up from the bench. I look at it one last time, knowing I will be back. I look to the right, where my younger self disappeared from view, and then to the left. I decide to turn left, and walk down the path, hands in my pockets. I, too, fade from view into the night.